Hello and welcome to a new episode of Critical Coffee Considerations, where for the first time, thanks to Charles, we are roasting some direct trade coffee. Tell me, Charles.
This is quite a long story. Started out me finding a woman years ago, then going on.
You're going back that far.
We ended up in Colombia, where they have a lot of really nice, really nice coffee farms. And I mean, of course, it's a big industry in that country. But we also saw the real struggles and how everything's been processed and done. We had a fantastic experience in one of the coffee farms, and we will put the link to the coffee farm in the description of the video. It was in Quindío, and it was a fantastic farm, and there we bought some green beans.
Okay, so let me interrupt you just a small moment. This is 173.9 grams per 250 milliliters. This is my regular density measuring approach. So we're somewhere around Nicaragua. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, no, so that was a great experience. We bought both roasted coffee and green beans. They were not used to people buying green beans, so we kind of surprised them there, but I think it should be more often done, because direct trade, I think, should be done, because it helps to reduce the middleman. Apologies to the middleman industry, but it is more sustainable. You know, it helps people to contribute directly to the.
But is it legal? This is of course.
This is of course. Well, let's maybe discuss that off the record, whether it's legal or not.
Well,
because
it's legal to drink it. It's not legal to sell it. I guess in this case, there's coffee industry. I mean, it's the second most sold commodity, just after oil, of course. So all commerce around coffee is very much regulated. So I'm allowed to roast your coffee, but I'm not allowed to just take it, because this is your coffee. Like, as a person, you're allowed to take a little bit of coffee out of a coffee producing country into your home country, but I don't even think you're allowed to go beyond 250 grams, which luckily this is what I measured here.
And it's probably because of tax reasons and import reasons. Okay.
Probably a lot of things. You can continue maybe explaining how you got to this precise coffee while I put it on the roaster.
Okay, so there are three main types there in the La Morelia, if I'm not mistaken, is the name of the coffee farm. And so you have a low quality coffee, or let's say a standard quality of coffee, let's say. That's called, I think it was I will have to look up the precise name, and we will put that in the description. And then there is the medium coffee, and then there is the gourmet coffee, which is the highest quality of coffee that we are going to roast here. The difference, and that's the most important point, I think, has to do with the selection of the beans and how they are, how they are eventually selected in a careful process. So that has to do with all kinds of variables: the size of the beans, the form of the beans, the color of the beans, and so this is a high quality roast which has a typical high quality selection profile.
Yes, okay. So of course I missed what you were trying to explain, so let me just go into my process now. And in having received these beans, having measured for my reference around this, what was it, 174 grams per 250 milliliters, so I can now place it in the coffees that I'm used to working with. Of course, yes, this is.
So what is the most important thing to know is that when you roast green beans, you need to be careful about the density of the beans and basically how you want to roast the beans. And that's what you want to determine first. You want to determine the origin of the beans, where they were grown, what the density of the beans is, and then what you want to do with the beans. That can all determine the roasting process. So that's what we're having a look at here.
But I must say, the beans, they really do look very nice. I mean, it's very kind of equal, not a lot of variance, and yeah, a good density.
High quality, yeah.
Yeah. So I put it on 235 degrees, the Genie Cafe, for 14 minutes. Like this morning I was roasting the Nicaragua, which has kind of a similar density, and doing a cold start, so without preheating your machine, I found that it still lacked a little bit of body, and so I'm hoping with 14 minutes we get closer to it. Of course, you should never let your roast unguarded, and I have a direct view, but let's go and have a look at it together in the roasting department, also known as my garage. This is where all the magic is happening, of course. So let's pass through all the beautiful roses now. Have you seen the improvements to the garden?
That's really nice. I mean, they are blooming and blossoming, and wow, and they have a great smell as well.
And they have a great smell. And here you can already smell. Let's get some extra lights. Here we are. You see, once you get used to roasting, you know, a few minutes of not really watching in the beginning. It's just drying them. You know, you can see they're still very green. So we'll keep a watch here to see how the roasting continues. Wait for that. For what are we waiting always as we're roasting?
You gotta wait for those cracks.
That first crack, you know, you don't want to hear the second crack, or do you?
Well, so I was just saying that it depends on where the beans come from, all those variables, and also what you want to do with the roast.
Yeah.
Now this roast, we could actually give it as a present to my parents.
That was our thinking, because we're just the week from Father's Day still, so we're trying to get a nice roast for your father here.
That would mean they have a semi-automated machine. That would mean...
What is his roast preference as a taste profile?
I think they actually like the roast you do, so probably we should go just for a medium roast. I think,
yes.
Or that's the roast profile you did for them, right?
Yes, but they don't really like the light profile. Right?
No. Especially with those machines, I think you need to give it a bit more than you would normally do. So maybe a little bit more than. Yeah, so let's say maybe not very light medium, but yeah.
We'll wait for that first crack and then just give it 2 minutes more or development and give it a manual cool down, so that that should be nice.
So how many minutes are we roasting?
So I put it on 14 minutes, so we still have 9 minutes to go. Okay, we'll see how this progresses, and then you'll see us back. So we're back. We're working against the clock here to get this tasted as quickly as possible. Of course, first thing now is to see. Oh, I'm making a mess, as per my usual. All right, let's get it added. So very chaffy dough, I must say. 214 grams, so that's already nice. Maybe I can ask you to put this in the kitchen. 214. Let's now have a look at the density, and then we can do the grind. Oh, this is really still quite hot. Okay, so quickly. Okay. They feel very light at the very least, but you always need to be precise in your measurements, although this method does have its kind of variance depending on the shape of your finger and how you determine how, especially when they're still hot.
It is quite a...
There's a lot of variance in this method, but it's giving you some kind of a figure to work with. So we have 99.4, so still a high kind of density. All right, we'll do 16 grams to put in 2 cups for tasting. And yes. All right, water is hot, so that's good. There we go. So a few beans. All right. All right, so we have 16 grams here. Get that browned. So Charles, are you able to observe any cracks?
So clearly, I hear the roasting. That's clear. I have not identified a single crack yet.
We should be coming close to that moment. The color is definitely indicating.
It's actually relatively close to the color I have when I bought them in Colombia, so we're getting there.
Because of course you bought them both roasted and this one batch of unroasted coffee. So we will have to depend on your historical recollection of tasting the different roasted.
True, because it's been a while since I tasted that coffee.
So
we still have one back to compare the taste.
So what helps with the Genie Cafe if you put your ear on top of the of the heating element.
It's quite a lot.
So usually I try to just kind of just next to it. Okay. Water has been cooking. No cracking yet. So when you're cupping about 120 grams of water. We're trying to be very quiet. That a lot of that's really necessary when you're working with the Genie Cafe to have any chance of hearing the cracking. Although I think I'm
yes.
to flame, well not
this was,
flame, but you should always let your
now it's clearly
now
I can hear
now you can safely say we are in the cracking phase.
They cannot
okay.
wait, of course.
So you were absolutely right. It was exactly right in time.
It was around 1 minute when it was cracking.
So there's
do you want to give it one more minute of roasting, or based on the color and the cracking, you think it should be fine
okay,
for your
so
father?
Charles is very much pressured for time. He has
if you want to add a minute,
still
you have to do it now.
responsibility for
You
the
say
small
it
barista.
You see, I always listen to get
in training.
The barista in training. That he's
There we go.
He's at the
Between
barista
two cracks.
course.
I mean,
Is that not the
we
case?
did it. We did it. What I mean,
We have-
don't go for that second crack. You go for that first crack.
Of course, we'll have to see in the cupping if you made the right decision.
a coffee to his baby, fellow baristas in training. So that was kind of an important moment, I think, for the alumni of the Between Two Cracks training, because they actually offer coffees now, even though they are not real yet. They offer it to the community.
Coffee is as much about ritual as it is about caffeine. I mean, it's more than caffeine. That's what I always try to sing, anyways. But yeah, it's very good that he's already on this trajectory towards coffee greatness. Where did he pick it up? That's the big question, of course.
Yeah.
So
his father could have misled him.
That's what we do as parents.
So we first remove the.
But wait. Well, so we're about 1 minute and a half. You can already just kind of have a smell, and see if.
It's a stronger smell than I am used to from this coffee.
Then your recollection.
Yep. But that's have to do with the point that it's just freshly roasted as well.
It's very chocolatey, the smell for me.
Yeah.
But I would also say some cinnamon. There's something else. Cannot put my finger on it yet.
Yeah.
So how do you remember the coffees you tasted from the same place?
So they're called agrodulce, so they're typically called like sweet sour because you have the sweetness of the light roast and the acidity because you are light roasting, it's fresh, and when you taste them in pour over setting, it's really good. I really enjoyed it, and they actually let it cool down a lot which is something we normally not do here in Europe.
Did the trip help you to appreciate pour over more?
It's definitely a game changer for me. I was used to drinking dark roast espressos. Then, because of Francis Beck, light roast espressos, which is quite an interesting experience. And then I finally saw that with the pour overs you can get really nice citrusy flavors you can't actually get with the espresso. Espresso can give you the fresh flavors, but not really the citrus.
Yeah. For me, it's the overwhelming experience that you can have in an espresso, which is still something I sometimes miss in a pour over. But yeah, as you say, as taste profile, going more in a citrus direction, having other kinds of flavors that you don't directly associate with coffee, that's fun to discover with pour overs or in a cupping. So we're about 3 minutes and a half. Usually you would wait up to 4 minutes to break the crust, but given that every second counts, I would say go for it. Just kind of break it and then get close, but don't get your nose burned, and smell. So in general, it would already kind of help to the smells you might have picked up more softly as the crust was still intact, to kind of get it more on point. But you can remove the crust now. Please, you can use both spoons if that's more helpful. It's the same coffee in the end. All right. And I'll do the same here. All right. At least this time it's easier.
I will go straight ahead with the cupping, right?
You don't need the spoon for the cupping? Wait. I have trained you in the past, I think, with this slurping technique. Let's go and see what we discover. Of course, we're just around 5 minutes now, so it's still hot. So there is some citrus.
Yeah.
It's not. You can taste that it's more medium, even medium dark roast. You do kind of taste, but it doesn't have ashy.
No.
But maybe just a little bit in the background.
It even has very soft notes of.
But still.
Like, I really remember this tropical climate when I'm tasting this coffee, so for me it brings back like memories and tastes, and it has kind of a softness to it, like almost like a hint of banana or some kind of sweet fruit that is... No.
A hint of banana.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the mind is always very impressionable for suggestions, so...
But now less,
I wouldn't call it,
when temperature goes down, it's less.
I wouldn't call it a banana milkshake at this point, but...
I wouldn't either.
Maybe if I really... focus on it. In general, for me, it does really feel like a very quality coffee. I would be interested to know how it tastes like when it's roasted just a little less. But I think for your father, this will be the perfect roast. And you have a story to tell.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so if you need, coffee for a special one, you want a special roast, come over to 212 Coffees and we'll sort you out. Thanks for contributing the direct coffee this time. This was for me also quite an experience, Charles, and hope to see you on the next episode.
See you.
Okay.